Step.
Breaking news. Considered. The Elias Macco Show. News Talk Radio. CJAD 800.
The statement issued on social media at 7:30 this morning. Parti Québécois leader Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon saying this. In recent months, I've already expressed myself on the fact that the PQ would exercise its judgment to choose the moment of a referendum, a consultation, which for me was self-evident, but I had not yet expressed myself formally on this point. A Parti Québécois government would not hold a referendum as long as Donald Trump is president of the U.S. Why? Because an issue as crucial as Quebec's political future requires conditions that allow for an informed and serene debate. It must not be hijacked by the upheavals of American politics, nor by the stunts of an unpredictable president, nor by fear-mongering. Here to help us understand more about how this may land with various segments of the voting population is our pal, Raphael Melançon, political analyst for CTV Montreal and CJAD 800, as well as a columnist for the Gazette. Raphael, thanks for jumping on this.
Thank you, Trudy. Good morning.
How did you feel that this message has landed in the early moments this morning?
Well, I mean, it seems like PSPP found a scapegoat, basically, because let's face it, the support for sovereignty was not over 50% under Joe Biden. It's not any different today than it was just a few years ago before Donald Trump came back to the White House. So it seems to me like PSPP found a scapegoat basically to justify to his core base, which is hardcore sovereignists, that they are not going to push hard during the next campaign that's going to begin in just about a week from now. They're not going to push hard on the rhetoric about a referendum, but rather about governance and holding the CQ government accountable. And so it's a major change in the tone and the approach of the PQ leading to the elections, the provincial elections in just a few weeks. And it shows clearly that the PQ now understands that sovereignty was more of a burden to them that would have plagued their chances of forming a majority government rather than helping them at the moment, considering the situation with the U.S.
So you believe this was in part a red light to members within his own party who are staunch sovereignists, who want imminently a referendum, that he is not going to be pushing that idea. He's actually talking internally to his own supporters.
He is, well, he needs two things. First of all, you're the leader of a party, so you need to satisfy your base on one side because you don't want to trigger a major internal crisis just a week or two ahead of a crucial campaign for your party, which is currently leading in the polls. So, of course, you want to avoid a major crisis within your candidates, your core base, your volunteers. You want to keep them motivated because the problem with the PQ is that sovereignty is on one side a burden to get a majority, and on the other, it's also the engine that keeps that party alive and keeps the volunteers motivated on the ground. So if you want to keep your people knocking door to door and canvassing across the province motivated, these guys are there specifically because the PQ is tending to make Quebec a sovereign country. So you don't want to demotivate them on one side, but at the same time, you need to speak to the majority of Quebecers. 2/3 of Quebecers, Trudy, do not want to have a third referendum on sovereignty. Not now, but not just now. If you look at the numbers, it's quite consistent. Over the past few years, support for sovereignty has been quite consistent. It's always been around 1/3 of Quebecers supporting the yes side in an eventual referendum, whereas almost 2/3 of Quebecers do not want to have that debate again, which we had already twice in 1995 and 1980. So on one side, you have to reach out to Quebecers and nationalists that are not necessarily sovereignists and tell them you can vote for the PQ and give us a majority. But at the same time, on the other, you have to speak to your base and tell them there are reasons why we put that on hold at the moment. And they found the best justification, I would say, in the current circumstances to ensure that their base would understand and that wouldn't trigger too much of a crisis within the party, despite the fact that what we're hearing today is that PSPP is not going to hold a referendum in the first 3 years of his term, if ever he were elected with a majority government. And we don't know what's going to happen next, because is Donald Trump going to remain in the White House after his second term? That's still not clear, let's face it. And who's going to replace him if ever he were to be replaced? Is it going to be a Democrat? Is it going to go back to the situation we knew before Donald Trump ever came to the White House? Or is it going to be someone from his MAGA movement? That's also a possibility. And that would also bring, in my point of view, a lot of uncertainty and instability in North America.
Considering the 2/3 of Quebecers who don't want a referendum and don't want sovereignty, do you think what Parti Québécois leader Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon has said this morning is enough to reassure them to the point where they're willing to plant their vote with him for better governance, which is what he's saying he will devote the interim time to, cleaning up the CAQ mess?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to convince anyone, because PSPP, let's face it, has been, since he became leader of the PQ, he has been all about holding a referendum in the first term. So it's, in the minds of many Quebecers, it's clear that this guy is there to hold a referendum on sovereignty. So I don't think that at the very last minute, as the campaign begins, this is going to change anything. What he wants most of all is he wants to be able to deflect all the attacks of his opponents, because let's face it, because of his own rhetoric, because of his own strategy and presenting a blue book on sovereignty over the past few months, he made this election, he made the ballot question about, do Quebecers want to have, yes or no, a third referendum on sovereignty? And so of course, they see with the numbers, if you look at the numbers, the latest polls at the moment, the PQ has hit a ceiling, basically, and that ceiling is about the same as the support for sovereignty. So they're around 30%, and support for sovereignty is also around 30%. So if you want to grow your base, you have to go beyond that, beyond those who support sovereignty, and you have to reach out maybe to potentially CAQ voters, nationalists, soft nationalists that are not necessarily in favor of sovereignty, but who want to have a strong government which will defend the interest of Quebec within Canada. So you have to reach out to those people. And how do you do that? Well, you put aside the question of a third referendum in the near future, and then you can hopefully for them, have an election that will not only be, yes, about sovereignty, but also about governance and also about the priorities of Quebecers, which are, of course, housing, healthcare, education, and so on. The economy, of course.
So shift in the polls coming now that, voters can digest this, or no, Raphael?
I don't think we're going to see a major shift in the polls for the PQ, but I think we might see a shift in the rhetoric, the narrative that we hear from other parties that will have to adjust to that new reality. That will no longer be just an election about a third referendum, but let's not forget, there's still a referendum happening in the first term, just after January of 2029, when Donald Trump will no longer be in office in the White House. So the questions now to Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon is, what do you do next? Do we have a referendum in January of 2029? And what happens if Donald Trump is replaced by someone else from the MAGA movement? What happens next? There are so many variables that are out of control of Quebec and the PQ at the moment. So to me, it doesn't clear the question entirely, and it's still going to follow PSPP. I think his opponents are still going to try and make it all about a referendum, because it's still the case here. We would still have a referendum in the first term, just towards the end of it.
Raphael, always appreciate your insights.
My pleasure, Trudy. See you next time.
Yes, Raphael Melançon, political analyst for CJAD 800 and CTV Montreal, and a columnist at the Montreal Gazette. By the way, just want to let you know, Aaron Rand will be speaking with Parti Québécois leader Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon after the 3 o'clock news this afternoon.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.
The Elias Macco Show.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
The voice of Montreal.
Hello, Canada.
This is Bryan Adams Radio. Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
We'll play a few of mine, a ton of my favorites, and some must-hear behind-the-scenes stories from the world of rock and roll. One thing about doing rock and roll so long is you end up meeting a lot of the people that you admire. Sometimes you even get to work with them.
It's only love, and that's all.
Bryan Adams Radio.
I'm coming back to you.
Now available on the free iHeartRadio app.
Everybody, how are you tonight? Sounds great.
Gertie Mason sitting in for Elias again this week. The best beach volleyball players in the world are in Montreal this week. The Montreal Beach Pro Tour gets underway tomorrow at Parc Jean-Drapeau. This brings some of the top international volleyball players to the city through the 23rd. And when I say international, it's not just international. There are some Canadian hopes along with the others from other countries at this tournament. This is a chance to see elite level beach volleyball in Montreal at Parc Jean-Drapeau. And, of course, it's another big sporting event for Montreal in terms of tourism draw. Here to tell us more is Alex Ratthé, General Manager of the Montreal Beach Pro Tour. Good morning, Alex.
Hey, good morning.
So this is a big one for Montreal. The city has hosted this event in the past. Anything different this year that you think has elevated the event?
Yeah, it's the third edition of the Montreal Beach Pro Tour in Montreal. So this year we're super excited to welcome the best beach volleyball player in the world.
And tell us about some of them.
Yeah, of course we do have the Canadian. They're going to defend their championship. They won the first edition, the second, and now they're going to try to get the AAA. So it's Melissa Humana-Paredes and Brandie Wilkerson, who finished second in the last Olympic in Paris. And we also have the Canadian Guillaume Rivet, who's going to try to be better than last year, and also Marie-Alex Bélanger, who's going to perform again this year.
Are they both Quebecers?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're from Quebec.
Is Montreal, in terms of the Pro Tour and the 8 stops on it, is Montreal considered a pleasant stop for volleyball players? Because I think when people think of Montreal, they probably think first of hockey and then maybe soccer, but maybe not so much beach volleyball.
Yeah, I think Montreal is very attractive for any sports event like cycling or running. It's very talking about like sports, restaurant, nightlife. Everybody who's talking about Montreal, they really enjoyed their time here.
What about the setup with the courts at Parc Jean-Drapeau? How many games are going to be running? Is it one of these things where there are like multiple courts, like in tennis matches? What is the setup at the park?
Yeah, we do install. It's actually funny because we do install 2 court and on the F1 circuit at the Parc Jean-Drapeau. So there's 2 main course. The match will start on Wednesday with the qualification, and then the main draw will start on Friday, and Saturday and Sunday we're going to have the finals.
How technically difficult is it to install a beach volleyball court? On what surface are you working on? Are you actually on the racetrack or are you on the grassy areas?
Yeah, we basically have to build the sand court from scratch. It's actually 700 tons of sand that we put on the F1 racetrack. So it's kind of funny for those F1 fans who also attend this event. It's kind of we're all the team working very hard to put all those courts together. But it's an amazing venue with the city of Montreal in the background. It's kind of it's an awesome venue. Yeah.
I have more questions about the sand. Actually, first of all, is it homegrown sand? Does it come from the region? And how deep does it end up being on these courts?
The sand actually comes from a supplier from Ontario which is an official supplier of a volleyball world. So it's kind of it's the same thing as the ice for hockey. So there's this strict standard. So all the players have to basically have the same sand in every country, so they can they can adapt easily on each court. So it's 40 centimeter deep. And it's very specific, so we don't want to have like a coarse sand or too fine to make sure it's very well compact. And if it's raining, it can drain easily. So it's very specific, and we're lucky to have a supplier here near Quebec, so you can come and help us to make sure the surface it's well for all the beach players.
Do you play through the rain?
Yes, of course, we're playing through the rain, so just in case of storm, we're stopping the matches, but rain or shine, we're going to have matches.
What else is of an attraction at the setup at Parc Jean-Drapeau?
We're going to have some animation all the way to the week. We also have a family day on Wednesday with some specific activation. We're going to have some food trucks, music, official stores. So it's not only beach volleyball matches, but it's a party. It's a festival.
And you mentioned that the courts are set up. You have the city in the background. Are the matches televised? Because that would be a lovely visual.
Yeah, exactly. All the matches are televised through web. Here in Quebec, Montreal, we can watch it on ici 2.tv or CBC Gem.
Aside from this major event that brings all these international players to the city, is the city of Montreal, is the island or the region of Montreal a good volleyball place? Are people starting to see volleyball in a different light, that this can be a competitive and community event that you can get kids involved in?
Yeah, the volleyball in general is getting more and more popular in schools. So you see a lot of more kids coming to the sports. And of course, in Montreal, we do have a strong beach volleyball community. So when we set up an event like this, we try to gather all the community. And since day one, they jump in the project and they help us to promote the event. And that's why this event is so successful.
Where are some of the hot spots in Montreal for beach volleyball players to go on in the course of a normal summer?
Yeah, there's here in Parc Jean-Drapeau, there's some beach volleyball court. Near the Montreal on Parc Jean-Mans, there's also a beach volleyball court. And there's some on the Canal La Chine as well. So there's few spots where the community can meet up and doing some matches.
Does it seem as though beach volleyball is kind of gaining some traction here, that it's on an upswing after years of a slow gain?
Yeah, when you go to the beach or in a camping or whatever, there's sand, there's a net, and people playing volleyball. So it's kind of you see people playing volleyball since like forever. But of course, it's when you see beach volleyball, it's party, it's music, it's beer, it's all about having fun. So having those events here, more structure. Of course, it brings more structure to the sports and bring more teams, more tournaments. So it's kind of a rolling effect. So the more events like this bring more smaller events, and you see more and more of those tournaments.
Tell us about ticket prices and availability, Alex.
Yeah, we do have tickets starting at $15 for the kids on Wednesday, and we do have some very good tickets all the way to the week. So there's sessions during the day and a session during the night. So like the Melissa and Brandie, their first match will be on Thursday at 4 p.m. and we still have some very good tickets left. For the weekend, it's hurry up because there's a few very good tickets, but it goes very fast, and the weather will be amazing, and it's a very a must-see event.
Where do people find out more about the Montreal Beach Pro Tour?
On all our social media, Montreal Beach Pro Tour, and of course to get tickets on our website, MTLBeachProTour.com.
Alex, thanks for your time this morning.
You're welcome. Hope to see you there.
And he's not wrong about the weather being great. Well, aside from tomorrow, the opener Wednesday, where we have that chance of showers and the risk of a thunderstorm in the afternoon, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday all look fabulous. So, beach volleyball, something new if you haven't checked it out before. Coming up on our In Transit segment, it's our regular hit by George Inney of the Automobile Protection Association. Get your calls in early if you'd like to speak to him about a car that you're interested in. 514-790-0800.
The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice. Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.
The Elias Macco Show. On demand.
On demand. Don't miss a thing.
Find your favorite clips at CJAD800.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
He is the go-to guy for questions about vehicles. George Inney of the Automobile Protection Association. And you can bend his ear if you give us a call. 514-790-0800.
Hello, Canada.
This is Bryan Adams Radio. Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
We'll play a few of mine, a ton of my favorites, and some must-hear behind-the-scenes stories from the world of rock and roll.
We're coming to get you.
One thing about doing rock and roll so long is you end up meeting a lot of the people that you admire. Sometimes you even get to work with them.
It's only love, and that's all.
Bryan Adams Radio.
I'm coming back to you.
Now available on the free iHeartRadio app.
Hey everybody, how are you tonight? Sounds great.
La STM vous souhaite la bienvenue à bord.
On the bus or on the Met, you're in transit on CJAD 800.
Trudy Mason sitting in for Elias, and we always enjoy the regular visits to CJAD 800 of George Inney from the Automobile Protection Association because he is incredibly knowledgeable about all things car. George, good morning.
Good day, Trudy. It's nice to be back.
Well, we thank you for your time. We have a text in already, 514-790-0800. This texter says, we own a CRV that was recently stolen and recovered. Thinking about selling this car and replacing it. Wondering if the APA has advice on preventing car theft and which cars are less popular with car thieves and are also good cars to own. What do you think, George?
Well, for less popular, it would be a sedan. So you'd be looking at something like maybe a Toyota Camry that's very good, or a compact car, something like the Corolla, although its theft rate is a little bit higher, maybe a Mazda vehicle. The reason why the theft rates are so high for Honda and Toyota is that the vehicles are desirable, they're exportable, and the manufacturers are derelict with anti-theft protection. So you really do need to buy extra protection. The device we like is the tag. That Honda may already have had it. The tag doesn't prevent a theft, but it allows to track and recover a vehicle. And thieves know when it's on the car that they need to leave it somewhere to cool off. And usually that's how the vehicles are recovered.
And that is something you can both buy at the purchase point and have installed aftermarket if needed?
Yes, and I'd suggest if you're being quoted a price to buy the tag, that you compare what the aftermarket offers. The benefit of doing it at the dealer is, first of all, you can finance it along with the other part of your purchase, one transaction, and then you leave with a vehicle that's already prepped. The disadvantage is we find some dealers are gouging. So the product in the aftermarket is available for under $500 from a dealer. It could be that price, but we've seen them charging as much as $800 or $1,000, and they don't tell the customer that it's that you could buy the same thing from a LeBeau or a call tag for a referral.
All right. Thank you for that text, 514-790-0800. Michael now from Côte St. Luc has a question for you. Hi, Michael. Go ahead. You're on with George Innie.
Good morning, Trudy. Good morning, George. Thank you for taking my call. For the past 5 years, we own a Mazda CX-5, and we're really happy with it, but we're looking for something a bit of a smaller scale than the Mazda CX-5. What can you recommend, George?
Mazda CX-30 is very good. It's quite a bit smaller.
Mazda CX-30? Okay.
Yeah, the smaller Mazda. Yeah. The smaller Toyota, which is smaller than a RAV4, is we prefer it with the hybrid powertrain, and it's very hard to get with that powertrain. It's in short supply. So that's something like the Corolla Cross.
Okay.
And I would tend to... Pardon?
No, I said those two I know you recommend, but I was also wondering one more question. What do you think of the Suzuki Outback?
So the Subaru?
Yeah, sorry, the Subaru Outback.
Sorry, that's not much smaller than what you're driving now. It's an excellent vehicle.
All right, looks like
relatively few complaints.
Looks like you do have some possibilities there, Michael. Thank you for your call. This texter says, and can you confirm this, George? Full electric cars are much less targeted by thieves because it's hard to find a charging station in Africa where a lot of stolen cars are shipped. Is that true, George?
Part of the reason, yes. The export market for electric vehicles is much smaller, but there are other reasons as well. So not all stolen vehicles end up in Africa. They could end up in markets where there is a charging network, but they don't seem to be as popular for export. One of the reasons is that the Teslas, which account for about half the EVs on the road, maybe even a little bit more than that, are in constant communication with the manufacturer. And so stealing a Tesla, unless you're using it for parts, is going to be a problem. So that it's beyond the level of most thieves right now to sort of camouflage a stolen Tesla so that it would appear as somebody else's not stolen car when it's talking to Tesla on a regular basis.
Good to know. This texter says, wondering if I am better off having a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid for mostly city driving about 1,500 kilometers per year.
It's almost no driving at all, 1,500 kilometers per year. You may find that even just a regular small gas vehicle does the trick for you.
If it was a typo and it's 15,000 kilometers per year, would you have different advice, George, just in case the texter made a typo?
Yes, the plug-in hybrid will qualify you for some rebate money. So the price difference won't be very much. If you can find one, then that's absolutely the way to go.
Larry, thank you.
If not, you're looking at if you go with Toyota, which is the best brand of hybrid, your savings overall in fuel will be around 35%. And if you do mostly city driving, it will be half what the gas version uses. So it's a very significant reduction and really for no change in your driving habits at all.
Jail has this question. 2021 Nissan Rogue. Can I turn off the tire pressure idiot lights? They're about as useful as a parachute that opens on impact. Okay. I'm assuming they aren't triggered early enough. Is that what you're getting from this text, George?
There could be two things. The system uses, depending on the manufacturer and the model, there's one system that uses sensors on the wheels, and those are communicating a bit like a Bluetooth with an onboard receiver in the vehicle. And so if your sensors are due for replacement, or for example, you're using a second set of wheels and tires for winter, and you didn't get an extra set of sensors installed and also paired with the vehicle, then you could end up with a warning that stays lit 6 months of the year.
That's me, by the way, George. That's because our winter tires we don't spend a lot of money on our car. So we didn't pay for any extra sensors on our winters.
Right. So some people do. And then the second system, the simpler system, essentially measures the relative rotation of each wheel. So if one tire is going low, then that wheel is going to be the diameter a little bit smaller because it's out of air, and the system will notice that, and it will warn you that that's happened. The system sometimes has false warnings, but I would say in that case, I still would prefer to have a tire pressure gauge and measure the pressure at all 4 tires and reset the system. And in most cases, that will solve the false warnings. There probably is a way to cancel it. I suspect it's not legit. It certainly would be an irregular feature. You need a good shop that would know how to do it, or disconnect the warning. I don't think that's a good idea. We believe that a tire pressure warning system is a safety feature. And if you are running low on air and don't notice, you could be alerted before you have a blowout. So,
when we come back after our traffic report, I'll be asking George about a Nissan Ariya Engage and whether that's recommended. First, though,
you've heard the chaos. Now you can see it. Oh my God. Watch all your favorite podcasts from start to finish right inside the free iHeartRadio app.
Gets the blood going, huh?
Catch every laugh and eye roll on shows like the Tom Green Farmcast and Park the Bus. Now with full video.
We're building a ramp for Tony Hawk.
It's the same hosts and the same chemistry with all the hilarious moments you've been missing right on your screen.
Cheers.
Open the free iHeartRadio app, search video podcasts, and tap watch.
CA.
Where Montreal calls in and speaks out. The Elias Macco Show, CJAD 800.
In conversation with George Inney of the Automobile Protection Association, you can submit your questions, 514-790-0800. This is a simple one from Alan in Pierrefonds. George, how about Nissan Ariya Engage?
So the question is, do I buy a new Nissan?
I would, guess. And
generally our answer is no. So Nissan reliability is not good, and the company is not helpful when you have a warranty problem after their warranty is expired. They're also very tough on their dealers, and so that has an impact on the service you receive.
Ooh.
So if you're looking for an EV, you can do better with one of the other brands. If you're looking to lease and you compare the rates, and Nissan is often one of the cheapest in the segment, and in that case, I think it could be an attractive purchase because you're not wedded to the vehicle past the end of the lease, and the company can't charge as much as other import car makers because they don't have the reputation, and so the deal is very good. And if you get an EV, the deal is on a lease at 4 years, the reduction in payments is quite substantial because of the federal money that's available, federal and provincial. It's two answers, in other words. Lease an EV, a very good idea. Lease a Nissan EV because it's cheap. Don't buy one.
Is there no hope on the horizon for Nissan? Are they not cleaning up their act?
First of all, internationally, there was some concern that the Japanese government or another buyer would have to step in because they were considered to be precarious on a financial footing. It's not something that we at the APA see or control. What we see is nationally and regionally what they're doing in our market, and what we see is that they've doubled down. So in other words, whatever they can do to save money, even if it's on the back of a customer, that means building a cheap car, or possibly when your cheap car breaks down, not coming out with good warranty extensions, paying off law firms to settle cases where half your customers don't get compensated. That's the kind of thing that you could see. So it's not really a good policy long term. For the consumer. And if you have a choice, then you go with another company.
This texter is looking for an explanation about the difference between summer gas and winter gas.
Typically, it has to do with vapor pressure. So if I think that's what the question is, and in some cases, the content of the ethanol could vary depending on the season or another additive to make sure that the gasoline sprays or atomizes the best for the ambient temperature. This used to be an issue years ago. For example, if someone stored a car with the wrong season gas in it, and you started and there were carburetors, and in the summer, if you had a vehicle with fuel with too much vapor pressure, the vehicle could stall, or you'd have to wait for it to cool down to restart it. We don't see those complaints anymore. The bigger issue is if you're storing a car that has ethanol in the fuel, for a long period, let's say a year or more, that you want to put a fuel stabilizer in it so that you don't get issues related to the ethanol coming out of the gasoline.
All right, another texter. I have a question. How much do I have to drive in the city per year, kilometers, to qualify for hybrid car? I'm a senior citizen. I do roughly 4,000 to 5,000 kilometers a year. I guess qualify may not be the right word there, right? It's more like justify a hybrid car, maybe, or I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So I would tell you that if you want to keep your outlay and you want to keep it simple, go with a compact car. Or if you have mobility issues, you want something that's a little higher, go with a sort of a higher compact car on stilts, something like the Hyundai Venue, for example, that's a little taller. People love it. They're small. Those vehicles don't use a lot of fuel. If you're going with a hybrid, you're going to be spending more to purchase, and you'll be in a somewhat larger vehicle in most cases, or you might be in a compact hybrid. And even at 4,000 or 5,000 kilometers, there's still going to be some savings doing it. Enough to justify your purchase? Perhaps not. One of the concerns we've had with many of the hybrids, certainly the Toyotas, is that they are purchased by people who buy for the long term. And when you do mainly short trips and low mileages, the regular battery, the 12-volt battery, the cars, Toyota's having trouble keeping them charged. And they'll often tell a customer you have to drive more or more often, which kind of gets around the idea of saving gas. You're just taking your car out because it needs to be exercised. It's kind of dumb. But that is the answer that you'll get sometimes. So in that case, a regular small gas vehicle will also do the trip to that low mileage.
Here's a question, kind of a different slant. A Toyota dealer wants $500 just to do a road test. Is this the new norm now?
I've not heard of charges for road tests, per se. It may be that it's one of the models where the delay to get the vehicle is 2 or 3 years. And in that case, for example, a Sienna minivan could be 1 year to 2 years to get your van. And maybe the only one they have is the vehicle they're going to deliver to a customer next week. And they want to just reduce the number of people trying it out. I assume that the $500 for the road test would be applied as a down payment or a reservation charge, so toward the purchase of an eventual vehicle. I don't think they're actually going to keep the $500 if you don't take the car. What they're expecting, though, is they'll have a hook into you. They can get a confirmed order. Let's say that they got that confirmed order and you weren't that sure. If you cancel it, they're still on the list with Toyota for a vehicle with your order. And so that will still allow them to get an allocation. That's what they want. $500 would secure you to make an offer to purchase, and the dealer might well offer you a refund if you change your mind a year later, because they can sell it to someone else for more money.
What is your opinion, George, in general about Mitsubishi? Asked this texter.
So Mitsubishi is a small brand, not very visible. Their products don't change often. And for that reason, in comparison tests, they might not rank as a top in the segment. On the other hand, a Mitsubishi, because it's around often and because it's sort of an engineering-based company, we have very good reports on the vehicles as they get older. Mitsubishi's come with a very long 10-year warranty, and the company pays when you have a problem as long as you have service records. If you don't, it can be a little harder, but that warranty is a big form of insurance as well. Our concern with Mitsubishi is that they were more or less purchased, or control of Mitsubishi was purchased by Nissan because Mitsubishi ran out of money. And the newest Mitsubishis are, in fact, reworked Nissans. And our fingers are crossed because we're hoping that they won't develop the issues that the comparable Nissan products have with their suspensions electrical systems, transmissions that we see. So far, the Mitsubishis have been much better. And the little Mitsubishis, we have almost no complaints on. The RVR and a similar product.
George Inney, as always, thank you very much for joining us on CJAD 800.
That was my pleasure.
George Inney, Automobile Protection Association. When we come back after the 11 o'clock news, as reported by James Foster, we will get some analysis from economics lecturer Moishe Lander of Concordia of that Auditor General report saying, okay, well, the province's numbers seem to be adding up in terms of what it wants to do budget-wise for the next few years, but taxpayers are going to have to brace themselves for some deep cuts. That's in a moment.
The newest tracks. Let's go. New music. And the next big thing.
Always on the new music first.
Your first place to hear it all.
'Cause you gon' like it, love it, wanna play it twice.
Playing now.
iHeart New Music. Your digital station for brand new drops, fresh finds, and tomorrow's bangers.
I think we need something new.
Discover iHeart New Music. Always fresh, always first. Stream now on the free iHeartRadio app.